Hello everyone, and welcome for my review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's a tale of grief, identity, and belonging, set in a vibrant and unique world. And after around 70 hours and completely finishing the game, I think it's time for me to give my honest opinion on the game. So there will be no spoilers in the content of this review, and all footage you will see are taken from trailers, so there is nothing there that the devs didn't feel was fine to show the fans before the game was out. If you really don't want to take any risk or anything regarding spoilers, just don't look at the footage and use this video as a audio purely, and you should be fine. Let's get into it. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a solo RPG, heavily inspired by JRPG but made by a Western French studio. It's actually a very new French studio. It's the first game, and it was founded by a couple of people from that used to work at Ubisoft. I think the story goes that they were working on some shitty mobile game there, and they were like, that's not what I wanted to do when my dream was to make video games. And they basically left. They started working on it for a year or so as a pet project, see where it will go. And in the end, the studio grew to be around 30 people in-house. Obviously, they still used contractors for some parts of the game. We could see, I think, in the credits of the game, there are some Korean studio for animation, I believe, and there were also some Polish sounding names from another contractors. So definitely not only 30 people did the game, but it's a core of the team, which is extremely low for a game of that size and quality. I mean, you could look at the story of the studio and the creation of the game. There are dedicated videos everywhere online. It's an incredible story with so many stroke of luck. It really feels like the stars aligned for this one. Their main script writer was someone they found on Reddit for a voice acting role in the demo, I believe. The most famous one obviously would be about the composer, which they found on SoundCloud, and that he had no previous experience on any similar game or anything. So it's very lucky that we got this game, and I would be very interested to see where they will go from there. The game itself, is set in fantasy France, like Belle Époque France. I would say early 20th century. Every year in this world, all the people of any given age disappear in what they call the gommage. The culprit is the paintress. It's like a giant figure you could see on the horizon, that the people can see on the horizon, and that giant figure paints the age of the next gommage on a big monolith that everyone can see. So the player manages a team of adventurers on their journey to try to rid the world of its curse by slaying the paintress, so people can have a future once again and not keep disappearing every year. Gameplay-wise, it's fights are turn-based, as older JRPGs, but they are very dynamic with parries, dodges, stuff like that. So even when you are not attacking, you are very active in the fight. There is an overworld between zones to navigate the world. There is a lot of exploration, collectibles everywhere, some very difficult bosses, and you can, if you want, or you can also, have the difficulty set to easy, and then you can just enjoy the story. There is something for everyone here. And speaking of the story, there is a very touching and poignant story to enjoy here. And that will take us to our first main point. So the story is incredibly well written. It is divided in a few well-defined acts, and it is engaging, it is highly emotional. The kind of story, well, I kept thinking about it for days after certain story beats. It touches on very deep topics, such as how do we handle grief, what does it mean to be alive, or even what defines a human. And that might be controversial, but I do feel like it touches on the theme as well of at what point can an AI be considered a living being. And when I'm saying that, I'm not thinking AI as in ChatGPT, right? I'm thinking about AI as a theoretical concept of artificial life. And what escapism are we ready to accept as a society for suffering people, whether it be in their body or in the mind, and at what cost for them? The pacing of the story is as good as you want it to be. You can explore when you want to slow it down. You can rush if you wish to do so. The game gives the option to take time to develop characters and their relations, if the player wants, as an aside, while the main story itself is fairly, contained and fairly short all in all. But if you are the kind of person like I was to really want to explore the whole script and see everything the game has to offer, you can definitely take a lot of time to develop those side characters, which I found very pleasant to do. And the fact that it's optional means that, anyone can take what they want out of this game, which is great design in my opinion. The characters themselves are very endearing. They are easy to identify to and to understand their reasoning. They all have their very distinct views and temper. And it's all helped by the fact that voice actors did an amazing job on this one, and I cannot stress this enough. I would like to shout out Andy Serkis mainly, and Ben Starr for their performances that really touched me. But they were all great, truth be told. Even I would say Kirsty Ryder as well did an amazing job for her character. A very unique voice. So yeah, it's easy to lose yourself in a story when you just get the characters, right? That's something they did really great, and the writers of this game, for me, did a phenomenal job. What would characters be without a good world to live in, right? And I'm going to be dithyrambic here, but it might feel a bit over the top, especially if this is the first review I've ever done on this channel. But trust me, it's just coincidental, and this is truly how I feel. This is one of the most beautiful worlds I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of. The art direction is just out of this world. It's this is anecdotal, but it's so easy to make thumbnails or beautiful screenshots, because anywhere you look in the game is beautiful, and it says a lot, right, about the visuals. And it's also a very unique and I feel recognizable visual identity for the game. It's like a generic, good-looking, realistic, whatever style. It feels very handcrafted. You could feel that a lot of love was poured in there by the creators, and that's really something that drew me in. And it's not just the visuals. The sound design was done to a very high standard as well. The combat sounds were very impactful. Nothing felt out of place. I do remember at some point walking on some gravels and actually stopping to appreciate the sound. That's how good it was. And then that leads us naturally to music, which is something you might have heard the game of just from the music alone. I know a few people around me that have never played the game, but they do listen to the music on a daily basis. It's some of the game I've ever experienced in a video game, or even movies or series, maybe even number one in video games, at least. For me, once again, I still listen to a lot of it every single day, and it's actually one of my current dreams of being able to see it live. The composer, Lorient Testard, is an absolute genius. Alice Duport-Percier, which is the main female singer, has a angelic and haunting voice at the same time. And the lines were actually composed for her, by her, most of the time. So, you know, the pieces were made for her voice, which you can definitely feel. And I would also like to shout out Daniel Sicard, which he brought the orchestra to life, because Lorient Testard didn't have a lot of experiences writing for orchestras. And on that topic, the Curieux Orchestra, which played the music, they played it immaculately as well. So big shout out to them. They are pretty famous in France in the nerd domain, because they do a lot of video games covers, stuff like that. So I already knew them before, same as Alice Duport-Percier from her previous Grisini project, which she was a part of. But yeah, Lorient Testard was definitely a new name, and what a new name it is! The guy spent like, I think 5 years working on that. He was like a guitar professor. He had no guitar teacher. He had no previous experience writing for a video game. All he did was he explained that for a year or so, as a challenge from his bedroom, every single week, he would write. He would choose a video game trailer, remove the music, and compose his own music. And he did that for like a lot of different video games of different genres, stuff like that, just as a portfolio building exercise. And he put them on SoundCloud. And at some point he published, he gave his SoundCloud link in a very obscure, random indie dev forum, which I believe was like one of the first time he visited that forum. And 24 hours later, the Guillaume Broche, the creator of the game, of the studio, actually visited that forum for the first time as well. He found the link, he listened to SoundCloud portfolio, and he loved it. And that's how they found their composer, which is now set to reap all the rewards at the Game Awards and stuff like that for that incredible music he composed. So, I mean, that story is just insane. And talking about insane, he composed 154 tracks for that game. It's over 8 hours of music. It's the definition of insanity, because for most video games, you get like a few hours, like 2-3 hours of music, which is already a lot. 8 hours is just not something we have seen a lot, if ever. I imagine it must have happened already, but not a lot of times, that's for sure. And the best thing, all those tracks are available for free on YouTube. The man just wants to do art and share it. And I just respect that a lot, you know. We have seen comments on Steam and you know, YouTube and everywhere. There is that recurring joke of, yeah, I just bought that incredible music collection, and there was a free game that came with it. You know, that's how good it is. So I am very big on video games as a piece of art, an expression of the imagination of their authors. And Clair Obscur is exactly that, a piece of art, which is something that in the bigger, in the world of you know, AAA and AA video games is sorely lacking, I feel, for the past you know, decade or so. Obviously, a lot of indie games are still expressing that, but big budget games usually are not. And the thing is, Clair Obscur might have been done by a very small studio with a low-ish budget. But the quality of what they produced put them right up there amongst the big budget boys. And it's refreshing to see an art piece making it up there. So going back to the world and atmosphere of the world, the world building is done very naturally through dialogues and visual storytelling. It doesn't feel forced, even though it's a very unique and different world. So, it could have been very challenging for them to write that world into existence in the mind of their players. But no, it feels very smooth and natural, which big props to them. I kept exploring every corner and pushing back the end of the game as much as possible because I just didn't want to leave this world, which for me is one of the biggest compliments you can ever make as a player to devs and creators. Gameplay-wise, the first thing I want to touch on is I really enjoyed the combat. Turn-based has never been a problem for me, usually, and the dynamic side here has made me enjoy it even more. Parrying was extremely satisfying, and at least for me, it didn't get repetitive. It's definitely a formulaic kind of combat, as all turn-based combat are, but personally I liked it. I can see how it could be different for others, obviously, but I feel like even if you don't like turn-based combats usually, I would say give it a shot. If it's the only gripe you may have, give it a shot, because it does feel a lot different than base Pokemon or earlier Final Fantasy turn-based combat, which was very static, and yeah, it's more about making builds and creating synergies in your team than anything. There is a real beauty in seeing your builds come together, I feel. It's also very easy to respec your character, so to redo your build entirely. The game is not punishing you for any choice at any point, which is something we can appreciate, I think. The build variety is not like insane, but it's still there. Most characters can be built as either support or DPS. Not all of them, but most. And the way builds are done felt a bit weird at first, but good enough. You get items that unlock a feature for the character that is wearing that item, and then after he has won 4 fights with that item while wearing it, then it unlocks that power for everyone else to use freely, and then you can equip as many of those features on any character as you can, given an arbitrary amount of points. It's a bit confusing at first. It does make sense after a while. I imagine it's probably inspired by other JRPGs, which I don't have a ton of experience with them. I have played a few of them, but it's not my specialty in video games, I would say, historically. So yeah, I imagine this is taken from other JRPGs. But yeah, the tutorials were sometimes a bit lacking, especially for the build, as I was just saying. But it's good enough, for someone with some RPG experience to get started. I wanted to note that there are a few very nice hidden tutorials, which I really appreciated. For example, in the prologue, they put a very visible kind of loot, simple loot, but very visible on top of a couple of crates. And without even telling you, you just know you can get there, right? And you want to get there, and then easily you find that you can jump and climb very naturally. It's a very simple thing, but it's hidden tutorial, right? I appreciate when games do that. There is also a monster, a very specific kind of monster that is kind of a puzzle to start to, so you can start the fight only after solving the puzzle. And like the first few times you meet one of them, it starts very simple, right? Because the goal is it's a monster that when you get close to it moves away from you in the opposite direction you come from. And you have to push it basically that way, push it back to its base. of sorts. And that's only when you manage to push it back to that specific point, to that base, that's when you can actually fight it. And the first one, is just in front of the base. It's like a corridor kind of thing, so you cannot miss it. Just so you understand, this is just so you understand the mechanism, right? Of you coming close to them and then pushing them back in a straight line. And then the second one, you have, I think if I remember well, if you keep just pushing it further and further, it just basically goes in a circle and it loops around. It never ends. And there is one place where you have to approach it from a different angle to push it to its base. So you naturally learn, right, that okay, it will get more complex, but it's still simple enough, right? I come here, I know that I can push it. Okay, now I'm pushing it, but it goes nowhere. Okay, so there must be another way. Oh yeah, right. If I change my angle of approach, I can actually control where I'm pushing it, right? And so step by step, encounter by encounter, they will teach you naturally how to play around those mobs. And it's those kind of hidden tutorial. I think a lot of modern games do not do that very well, or they don't put the efforts or the thoughts into that. So I did appreciate those kinds of things, even though, as I said, the tutorials itself for the main part of the gameplay was sometimes a bit light, I felt. Like maybe some people that have never played RPGs before might be a bit lost. I did, so I don't have that experience. Yeah, maybe some of you in the comments have gone through that and could explain the experience. We also have a very well balanced, I feel, difficulty levels. You can even fine tune it even further if you really want. At the end of the game, in the last act, you have the options to make everything even more difficult if you want. There are 3 modes, so basically easy, medium, hard. In hard mode, the fights, that's what I played. The fights, they always felt fair. Almost pretty much all skills were very well telegraphed, either by visual or sound clues, or both. So parrying, stuff like that was made easy. I even felt that for some bosses or some combos, I could literally close my eyes and still parry every single thing because of the sound clues, right? And I know, because I've watched a few videos of people playing, I know it's in easy mode, you basically cannot lose. You only take like 10 damage when you have 1,000 HP and you hit for 500, So it's if you're not a gamer and you just want to experience the story and the world, then you can definitely go for it. You can also change the difficulty in the middle of the game. There is no problem with that. They're already not, it's not made to be a pain in the ass, basically, that game. They really want you to enjoy it exactly as in your preferred way. And yeah, whenever I kept losing a fight, because hard mode is difficult at times. So it happened a few times, if you have seen the series. I kept losing fights. I was pretty much always thinking that it was on me to get better, right? In that sense, I felt like it was a very fair design. And yeah, bosses are all pretty unique in their designs. I never felt like there was any copy-pasted contents when it comes to bosses. Some have very few but hard skills to parry or to counter. Others have easier skills but numerous, like a lot of them. So the difficulty gauge changes on that, and it always felt fresh. And obviously a couple of important bosses have numerous and hard skills, so those ones were a pleasure to deal with. Because when they don't have a lot of skills, it's easier to, even if they are harder themselves, it's easier to learn them, remember them, and how the timing to parry, stuff like that. When they have 10 or 12 different combos, or how many, I don't know, I haven't counted, but it becomes very hard to remember every single combo, even if they are simpler by themselves. You know what I mean? It was a lot of fun either way. There was a lot of mechanics in place as well to help you move forward, which is very far from the design we can see, for example, in From Software game, right, where they do want you to have a hard time and conquer it. Here they give you potions to heal the whole team, like a few of them, and they replenish at every checkpoint basically. You can restart fight easily if you lose or whatever. They are not, as I said, here to be a pain for you. We also the more we go through the game, we also keep unlocking more and more ways to traverse the world, which was very satisfying, I felt, and well-paced. The exploration itself was very rewarding. It's not exactly an open world. Dawns are fairly linear, and the overworld itself is pretty contained. But there are a lot of little secret places if you know to look for them. There are obviously collectibles in those secret places, and they make you want to explore more because if you're someone that likes collections in games, you will enjoy it. There are a few of those that makes you want to explore more to find everything. And there's actually some nice little touches with those collectibles. It's not just to collect them. For example, there are records of music, like some of the pieces that Lorient Testar composed. You can find them as items in the world, and then you have, like, there is a camp, like a hub where you can develop character stories if you want. And in that place, there is a a device that allows you to play any of the records you have found so far. While you are chilling at camp, you can listen to that music. It's fairly similar to... The device is similar to what you would find in the Resistance camp in Nier Automata. You know, the jukebox? Except here, you actually have to go explore and collect the records yourself. So when you like one of the pieces of the soundtrack, and you actually find it in the world, find the record, you know you can listen to it at camp. It feels very rewarding for your exploration. So that was a good idea from there. Movement, though, I felt didn't always feel great. The character is off-centered compared to the camera. It makes it hard to navigate some jumping puzzles. The jumps themselves didn't feel great either. It's sometimes hard to gauge the distance of the jump, and depending on the distance and the height, sometimes the character will roll, and you cannot control it when it lands, and it made navigation a bit hard sometimes. The character's running animation didn't feel good either for me. Either the running and even the sound. I mean, they were already stomping the ground when you are sprinting, which doesn't feel good listening to it for minutes at a time. Thankfully, one of the characters is hovering the ground and not running, like pretty magically hovering. So this felt very smooth to control, and that's the one character I was using for the whole game, basically, to move around. Although there was some very nice polish on animations for things like the grapple hook or ropes. So traversal movement was well animated and thought of. There was no notable problem on a powerful machine, at least, which is what I had. So I haven't tested the game on a lower-end PC, but that's my experience, at least. There was no input lag. Everything was very crisp, constant FPS, no problem on that side. I think the only bug I saw was with one of the skill. But it was positive for the player. It was like a skill that had a good bonus happening under certain conditions, and it was happening basically every time I used it. The condition was not applied, but that was at the start, and it was patched towards the start of my series. So, after a few episodes, there was a patch, so I could enjoy it for a while, but then I had to actually go back to rethinking my approach for that character because it was not working anymore. which, fair enough. The game is 40 gigabytes, which is a bit big for a game of this size. Something like The Witcher 2 was 20 gigabytes, Witcher 3 was 55, and Witcher 3 was definitely bigger, way, way bigger. So it's a bit, it's big for a game this size. It's not well optimized on that side, but it's a smaller team with a limited budget, so I won't hold it against them. And 40 gigabytes in 2025, it's fairly low. Big storage is big, even big SSDs don't cost too much nowadays. UI wasn't great. It was still serviceable. I think I have seen in some videos behind the scene that they basically don't have a UX specialist in the team, which you can definitely feel. Especially the characters and inventory menus were very messy and, not always easy to get around. Although the combat UI was nice, at least with the controller, which I played with, and to be fair, they do advise you to use a controller at the start of the game, if my memory serves well. But yeah, combat UI was nice. I have nothing bad to say about this one. It was really about the characters and inventory screens that I had a few gripes with. There were some good quality of life elements, for example, being able to very quickly heal the whole team outside of combat with a refillable potions. They also added the restart fight on loss soon after I started playing, with the same update that fixed the bug I was talking about earlier, which was a great quality of life element. Although I would have liked to be able to restart the fight on bosses without having to rewatch the cinematic. Obviously, you can skip cinematics, but it's an unnecessary step. If I'm already in the fight, let me just restart the fight itself right now. I don't have to start the cinematic and skip it. It's a bit of an oversight, I feel. But, it's a quality of life element they added after the fact. So after the game went live, so it's not something they designed around. So I understand why it might not have been perfect, I still appreciated it. Okay, so I thought it might be interesting to give you the 2 or 3 things that I think about immediately when looking back on my experience with the game. I feel that ultimately games are an experience for the player, and I like when I've finished one to do that kind of exercise where I'm like, what stuck with me? Good or bad. So the good ones, the first thing immediately that comes to mind is some boss fights are unforgettable. From the setting to the visuals to the music. And I won't say names to spoil, but people that have played will know. At the end of Act 2, there is that probably the most famous boss in the game, with that, the Andy Serkis played character, and the music, which is insane at that moment. When the fight starts, it's just chill down your spine. It's that level of good. And also the next big boss after this one, obviously, which took me, I think, more than 3 hours to beat. I was hard stuck on that one for a while, but it was a spectacle for the eyes. We also have one other, which is how to say that without spoilers. The dancer lady in the arena, that was incredibly. The ambience was incredible there. The music, once again, the visuals, and even inside the fight, right? The visuals of the skills were pretty insane. And obviously, the very last fight of the game, the hardest boss in the game, which I don't think I will ever forget. The design was unforgettable, yeah. And its story as well, tearjerker for sure. That was the first thing that comes to mind. The second thing would be the prologue. Prologue, I think, will stay with me for a long time. For me, it's a masterclass in how to start a story. You can go find basically any content creator out there and watch the first hour or so of them playing, just to see the prologue. That introduction to the world, as I said earlier, it's a very unique world, and being able to introduce it to the player in such a smooth way, in just a few dialogues and showing a few things in the prologue, is masterful writing. The end of the prologue I will never forget. And then the last point will be the reveal of the story at the end of one of the acts, where because the story is very you have to piece it together, right? It's like a puzzle for a long while, and then at one point you get the full reveal of what is going on actually, and that left me like rambling and organizing my thoughts on video for the following episodes. I think I spent like an hour I can't remember, just talking about what it means and the themes and everything that was in my mind following those reveals. And yeah, it's the kind of moments when you discover the truth, where you just want to put down the controller and go outside, And if you're a smoker, just go smoke a cig, or if you have a dog, just go walk your dog, whatever, but just take some time to, what the fuck was that? And just think. And yeah, and I would give a bonus point to just the beauty everywhere you look. It stood out, but it's not very defined. This is a general feeling about the game. I do remember that how many times I have just randomly turned the camera because I was just exploring, and just stopped there and appreciated the sight, which is a big compliment to them. So similar to what I just did with what stood out positively for me, I have also to be fair and think of what didn't work, in my opinion. So the first thing would be obviously the general movement, as I said earlier. Maybe it could be fixed with a different camera placement, and that's obviously a very subjective opinion. So maybe if they give the option to place the camera differently, would be better. I'm not sure it will fix everything that I feel doesn't work with the movement, but it would be something, Second point would be the upgrade system. I didn't really vibe with it, as it were. The upgrade system was not. I don't know. I just didn't. Yeah, I just didn't vibe with it. It could be done better, simpler. I don't know. I felt like it was very unnecessary confusion. But maybe it's just because I'm not used to JRPGs. And the last point that I felt didn't work for me as much was that in the last act, so in the last act, basically they open the world and they give you a direction saying, okay, it basically says when you're ready to finish the story, go there, but the world is open now, so do whatever you want. But it turns out that they are already hoping that the player will go for the story immediately, because it is balanced level-wise on the player just going for the story basically whenever it becomes available at that point. But as a player at that moment, in that moment, you don't know if the world will still be there after you've played through the story, if that makes sense. Because I thought, okay, but once I finish the story, the game is over. I want to explore everything before finishing the story, right? But no, because I explored everything, I came to the very last bit of the story. I was way over leveled, and I basically one-tapped the last couple of boss fights, and I couldn't enjoy it as much as I could have. So that was a bit disappointing, but it's not the first game that makes that mistake. I actually haven't found a lot of games that can play around that well. I'm having the same problem in Elden Ring right now. It's, the game lets you explore, but then punishes you because you are over-leveled. And it's a bit boring when you are over-leveled in a game, isn't it? So not a lot of games have been able to balance that out, so I won't hold it against them specifically, but that's definitely something that I would remember as not working for me. So, just to be clear, none of those things were major pain points for me. It's just stuff I mainly didn't care too much about, but they didn't prevent me from enjoying the game, right? It's just, I'm trying to be fair, in my opinion, and not gush too much over the game, which I really, really enjoyed. And I'm trying to, find things that I didn't like, which they were. Nothing is perfect, right? And that gets us to the final verdict, which for me, this is a masterpiece of a journey that I wish I could relive for the first time over and over again. The world they built, the visuals, the experience as a whole, are some of the best I've had the pleasure to be a part of in my life as a gamer. The music is amongst my favorite soundtrack ever, movies and video games included. Nothing obviously is ever perfect, but I feel like this one is as close to a perfect video game of this scope as it can be. I feel like that's something they did a very good job with, and I think it was emphasized by some of the devs in interviews I've seen, that like management in that project, they were very good at saying, because they wanted to do much more, obviously, right, with that project. But they knew, okay, we have that budget, we have that time, those time constraints, we need to cut content and actually making choices and not half-assing anything. Anything that is in the game, they are happy with. They just cut a lot of content because they couldn't do it, and they didn't want to do it like in a bad way. You know what I mean? Like rushed or whatever. And you can feel that. That's why, for me, for a game of this scope, it's hard to do better. It's hard to do better than what they did here. It's maybe not the game for players that are competitive only. Like if you are only playing games like, League of Legends, Call of Duty, whatever, online competitive games, you might not enjoy that game as much. It's a very chill game, all in all. Or, if you value pure action over anything, there are a lot of good actions, but it's not the main thing of the game, right? I would probably compare it to the anime Frieren in that sense. It's because in the sense, it's mainly about taking your time to enjoy the world and the characters. And although both the game and Frieren are capable of showing brilliant action scenes and action moments, it's not what those pieces of art are about, right? It's mainly about enjoying the journey. So it's probably a good choice for most people, even non-gamers, thanks to the difficulty slider, which you can put very low. But yeah, definitely some people will not like it, that's for sure. So if that's you, it's okay. We all have our tastes and opinion, and it's good it's a good thing overall. Just because people are gushing over it, people like me that loved it, it doesn't mean that you have to enjoy it, right? And there doesn't need to be any debate or whatever. We all have our opinions. But yeah, I do feel like if you are not that competitive only kind of player or action only, you should probably give it a go. There is a good chance you will find something that you like in there. I have heard that a movie is cooking up about Clair Obscur. I hope very hard that it will be good, because I really want to share that piece of art with everyone around me. Even though a lot of them, like my parents, or they won't touch a video game ever, because it's just not their thing, and I won't be able to convince them otherwise. But I really want to share that story with them. So I hope the movie will be good. I do not trust it very much, but there is still that glimmer of hope. Anyway, I can only thank you for walking this world with me. Obviously, if you want to see the full journey, the playlist is below in the description. It was a pleasure for me and an incredible start to this channel. It will be hard for the next coming games to hold the standard. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to more from Sandfall Interactive, from Lorient Testar, and from the video games world in general. Now that games like this one, Baldur's Gate, stuff like that, have really elevated the standards for what solo games could and should be. But on that note, I will see you again in the next series. Thanks. Bye.